So you know he's going to be hilarious. Please help me welcome to the stage the very funny Mr. Sam Fels.
I actually got suspended from school in 7th grade for not cutting my hair. I guess karma had the last laugh. Quick story, on my way over here, I saw this dude. He was a real dude, visor and everything. And he had on this sweatshirt, maybe it's not what I think it is, but he had this sweatshirt that said, Abercrombie football. And I was thinking, you know, maybe for Super Bowl halftime this year, instead of Prince, we could have Abercrombie football play Tommy Hilfiger football in the first annual Douchebag Bowl. Winner can play FUBU and get crushed. One day someone's going to know the subtle racism in that joke, but that's all right. So winter finally arrived this week, a little late. I'm glad. I know a lot of people were enjoying the warm weather that we had. I was for a little bit, but it was throwing me off my accents. It's just not what I'm used to. So I'm glad it's finally cold. And every time it gets warm, you know, in January or whatever, people start talking about global warming and getting really panicked about it. Every time someone talks about stopping global warming, they always say, well, it's not for us. You know, it's not really going to affect us. We have to do it for future generations, for the kids, for our kids and our kids' kids. You know, the more when I see kids today and read about kids today, fuck them. Just screw them. Especially the kids whose biggest problem is global warming. Just screw them. Kids are loud, smelly, annoying, expensive, and eventually they grow up to steal your drugs. So, in fact, the more kids you have, the bigger car you have to buy, the bigger car you have to buy, the more gas you have to use, and the more gas you have to use, the more oil we have to import from hostile countries. So as you can clearly see, procreation is terrorism. Tomorrow, when you walk around the neighborhood in the park and you see all those kids sledding and running around and jumping or whatever, every single one, even the cute ones, every single one, dirty bomb. So it's true. You want to stop terrorism, you gotta pull out of more than a wreck. I did. Speaking of which, I live above a small child. Floorboards were the only place I could keep them. They keep pulsating in a rhythmic fashion. I think that's only in my head, though. Some guy keeps trying to show me this poem he wrote about the phenomena, but I don't really believe it. I thought that reference was a bit too literate, and I'll drop it for 2 cents. No, I'm a family on the first floor. They have a small boy, and he sometimes cries in the middle of the night, and he wakes me up sometimes. That's fine, I understand, but this one, he makes this noise when he goes to this crying fit. I've never heard this before. I can't even describe it. I'll just have to do it for you, because I just can't put it into words. Like, he'll start crying, and then he just goes, wow. Am I living above a future psychopath? Killer whale? Rodeo clown? You tell me. Is it possible to have voices in your head when you're 6 months old? Yeah? If so, how does he understand what the voices are telling him what to do? Does the evil spirit talk into, you know, like baby talk, like all other adults when they're being annoying around kids? They're just sitting there going, who's a good little hell spawn? You are! Peekaboo, kill the dog. That's going to be fatal one day. So I saw this ad, actually I've been seeing this ad for a few months now, and I find it so hilarious and yet disturbing at the same time. It's for Cialis, the drug? Yeah. And it's aimed at people with diabetes and heart problems. In fact, it says, what do all men with diabetes and heart problems have in common? A lackluster love life. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. First thing I thought of. And my first question is, you know, if you've gotten these problems because you're so fat and you can't see your way anyway, how can you be sure you're not getting it up? Yeah? It's just such a stupid premise. I mean, these people have much bigger problems than that. And for like something that is that dumb purpose, your ad should be that dumb too. You know, you shouldn't pawn it off as serious like medical stuff. It just doesn't work. That ad should go something like this. Say there, Diabetes Dave, what seems to be the problem? What's that? Feet have turned black from lack of circulation? Well, don't worry. With Cialis, we'll make sure we concentrate the blood flow in one area. Sure, we may have to amputate all your other appendages, but hey, you'll make a great weather vane. And how about you, cardiac Zach? What seems to be the problem? What's that? Cholesterol so high your blood type is au jus? Cardiogram shows your heart with a help wanted sign on it? Well, with Cialis, we can make sure that you engage in one of the more strenuous aerobic activities known to man. Sure, you'll probably die during intercourse. But hey, what cowboy doesn't want to go out in the saddle? I'll get you up! That would be my ad. So, speaking actually on the same theme, I read this article a couple days ago. Since we kicked the Taliban out of Afghanistan for that brief time, Viagra sales there have just shot through the roof. Literally, yeah, and like even the knockoffs are like selling like hotcakes. Like people are just like taking Flintstones vitamins and painting them blue. Here, yeah, oh yeah, great. Yeah, I really feel sorry for the women of Afghanistan because under the previous regime they were so oppressed and treatment and the dress code and opportunities and all that. And then when they finally think something's going right, they say, oh, life's gonna be so different now. Maybe we'll get to do all the things we never got to. Get off of me! Maybe I'll finally learn to get an education and open my book. Put that thing away! So, a lot of people have said this, so this isn't really original. I guess I'm just echoing this, but the whole business in Iraq and the Middle East, I agree. Isn't it kind of obvious it's all being planned and run by someone who's very bad at sex? Mr. President, don't you think it's time we pull out? No, we can't pull out now. If we pull out now, she, Iraq, will know that I know that I'm a premature guy. No, we have to stay in there and be bad and not look like we know what we're doing. Not move around a lot. Occasionally think about baseball. And that way it'll last longer and they'll think I'm a real man. Something like that. I'll work on the Bush impression, I promise. So I see some of you drinking pretty heavily tonight, so I'm going to guess you're very relieved to have a weekend away from your really stupid jobs. Is that about right? Yeah. Woo! 3 of you. Everyone else has a job they love. I know you're unemployed, so don't even start. So I used to have a really stupid job. I had some of the worst ones when I was temping. I often referred to as Sam on suicide watch. It was awful. And when you have a really bad job, you'll do anything to keep from working. Like you'll engage in the most stupid conversations because you and that other person know as long as we keep talking about this, I don't have to go back to my data entry. My last job, I got into a 20-minute argument with my boss over whether or not jerk circle was an acceptable replacement for the term circle jerk. We went for 20 minutes. Like I said, jerk circle. I guess I heard my dad say it. I've been saying it for a while. Well, I never really heard that. I think you should just stick to using circle jerk to describe something that's unproductive and masturbatory. Now, whether or not a circle jerk is actually unproductive is a separate argument. One we had after lunch. And I thought about that. I was like, if you always use the properly accepted term, our language will never really evolve. And perhaps circle jerk is just derived from a previously longer, clunkier term that people didn't want to use anymore, like self-flagellation roundabout. And just because something is new and feels wrong at first doesn't mean eventually it won't feel right and good, like handcuffs. Or cutting yourself. And he's like, well, I didn't realize we were trying to evolve the English language in our shitty little office in uptown Chicago. But even if we were, jerk circle is not really an improvement of circle jerk. It's just a rearranging of it, like people who call it a cellar of wines instead of a wine cellar to be a pompous ass. It's like, all right, well, what if everyone in the metaphor is an asshole? Would it not be a jerk circle then? He's like, no, you still have a circle jerk there. You just added an adjective, so what you actually have is a jerk circle jerk. I was like, well, what if it's not a metaphor? What if you're just describing a bunch of unpleasant people standing around something? And it's kind of like, well, that's true. That would, in fact, be a jerk circle. But that's not really a metaphor. It's just a description. Anything can be a jerk circle. 98% of fantasy football drafts, they're jerk circles. Then we went to lunch. He fired me the next day for being unproductive. So, joke's on him, though. Every afternoon when he's getting crunched with work, I'm jerking off. You guys enjoy the rest of your show.